Hey guys, welcome to a new series called Wiiteen's Thoughts. This is where I analyze cartoons, live-action shows, and movies in a straightforward manner. No skits, nothing over the top, just me sitting down, speaking my opinions on an episode, a movie, or even an entire show. And in this video, I'll go over my thoughts on Family Guy as a whole. And oh boy, do I have a lot to say. So, I got into Family Guy around when it was like its 9th or 10th season, and when I had extra time like after school, I binge watched older episodes and I was hooked. Despite some people calling it a Simpsons clone back then, it had a certain charm. Mostly with the cutaways, they were pretty hilarious. I remember when they did one on Malcolm in the Middle, they did ones on the Muppets, they made a whole episode about Family Guy characters being on The Bachelorette. Family Guy has classic episodes I can come back to. So what exactly happened? How did the show go from being a big hit on Fox to being one of the most despised adult cartoons ever? Let's talk about that. Now, the first 3 seasons of Family Guy were fine and good, well, as is, but it wasn't perfect. Some episodes like Forefather can be kind of forgettable. And hey, can anybody remember when Cleveland Jr. was skinny instead of fat? Well, if you forgot about him until the Cleveland Show came around, I wouldn't blame you. But let's get back on topic. In my opinion, when the show got renewed for a 4th season, this is one of the best seasons, if not the best season of Family Guy, period. Those episodes really stood out. North by North Pole Hog, P-Tarded, Jungle Love, PTV, Patriot Games, Peter Guys, and the last 3 episodes of the season that center around Stewie. These episodes are just a couple examples of how good Family Guy can be. So what happened? Season 5 was decent, and Season 6 was okay. Despite having a couple does like McStroke, with Peter's stroked out face being really hard to look at. Seriously, it is. I can't even look at it. And Play It Again, Brian. We still got the Stewie Kills Lois 2-parter, and the rest of the episodes were alright in my eyes. Also, it went well enough. Well, it did moderately good, even though some episodes were out during the Writers Guild of America strike back in 2007-2008. But now, I'm going to describe to you the dark ages of Family Guy. And I believe it lasted from 2008 to 2016. Basically seasons 7 through 14. That's right. This dark age of Family Guy lasted for 8 years. Why is this the case? At least with seasons 5 and 6, they have some really good episodes you can come back to. But when the newest seasons came along, the quality took a huge nosedive. We saw more bad episodes coming in than the good ones. I reviewed some bad Family Guy episodes before. By the way, check them out when you get the chance. It's Wiiteen Star Animations, by the way. But let me quickly go over the ones I didn't like from Season 7 by itself. I Dream of Jesus, Tales of a Third Grade Nothing, Family Guy, The Juice is Loose, 420, Steroids, and in my opinion, one of the worst animated episodes I've ever seen. Not All Dogs Go to Heaven. Holy shit. I refuse to watch this one again. Ever. It went out of its way to insult me. I've hated this one for a long time. And the only reason I haven't done a video on it was due to the fact there are other videos, articles, and reviews out there explaining how terrible this episode truly is. Seriously? Look it up. This is also why I didn't do a video on The Boys Above Me from The Simpsons either. I hate that one a lot too. However, I did do a little review on both of these episodes on DeviantArt. So go look over that if you want my thoughts on those episodes. Okay, let's get back on track. One of the main reasons I hate Modern Family Guy so much is because of its sense of humor. Or should I say anti-humor? Remember those cutaways we all loved so much back then? In the dark ages of Family Guy? the cutaways are not only pointless filler, they're painfully unfunny. There was a cutaway with Peter running over people with his car during the Boston Marathon. This caused the episode to most likely never be broadcast on television again. There was a cutaway where they hold on a still image for like 30 seconds. I'm not kidding. There were those Conway Twitty cutaways, you know how much I hate those. And there was a cutaway with 4 women chewing off each other's skin. That shit literally gave me nightmares. I can't watch that again in its entirety. But unfortunately, that's what we got from Family Guy for quite a while. Those were some bad times. Oh, and remember all those classic Family Guy characters we grew to love? Yeah, they're back here too. The Family Guy characters went through severe flanderization. I will admit the characters back then were really complex, but at least they were funny and likable. They went when the Dark Ages came along. First up is Peter Griffin. Now back in the early days, Peter was just a casual dad that loved TV, drinks beer with his friends, and honestly, he's like me in a lot of ways. He can be relatable, and even when he makes huge mistakes, he's willing to learn from it at least. He was really funny back then too. Pretty decent character, right? Not anymore. How can I describe his character in the Dark Age of Family Guy? Well, I think Meg herself can give an accurate description of the character. This quote is from the Seashore Party episode, where she starts going all out on the family. This was the best part of the episode, by the way. I will reword things a little bit, so it's not verbatim, but here is basically what she said, and I'll be wording in my words. He has no education, he has no interest, he just does whatever reckless thing he wants to do whenever he wants to do it, without regard for anyone else around him. And when he's not terrorizing the community with his impulsive escapades, he's being a total jackass to his family. It does go on a bit more than that, but I think you get the point. Peter's character was just so obnoxious. I can't specifically name a certain episode where he is as worse, but a few examples would be April and Quahog and Fresh Air. I shouldn't have to explain myself even further than that. Don't watch those. Unfortunately, the other characters aren't much better. Lois is also a terrible parent here, but for some reason, the show makes her look so much better than Peter and point out that he doesn't deserve her. Oh jeez, that doesn't sound familiar. You know, this trend of the wife being a much better person than the husband is starting to become a cliche at this point. And I hate it. I do like Marge as a character, and I used to like Lois. But I really hate when a show makes one character superior to another for little to no reason. Especially when they act just as bad as them, but they don't get shit on as much. One of the episodes where she is at her worst is Go Stewie Go, where Lois has to hide from Meg's new boyfriend, then tries to have sex with him, and then blames Peter of all people because he treats her like garbage. You know, you deal with Peter's lunatic actions on a daily basis. This is just an excuse. The show can't have Lois in the wrong, so Peter has to be the scapegoat. So yeah, her character sucks too. Alright, let's move on to Chris. He might be the most bland character on this show. He's just an angsty teenager who occasionally has sexual urges. That's it. That's literally it. The episodes revolving around him are mostly forgettable. Even back then, he wasn't that interesting, and over time, he became less interesting. I have nothing else to say about him. Moving on, and then we get poor Meg. Another cliche I see a lot is a character that exists for the sole purpose of being physically, mentally, and or emotionally abused by everyone else, because the writers think it's funny. Now, from the beginning, we knew Meg was going to be mocked quite a bit, but it wasn't that bad, and even back then, she didn't just exist to be a punching bag. She was also a typical teenage girl who was kind of an outcast out of school, but despite all that, she still has a good chance of being successful in life. There is nothing wrong with that. But of course, it went from her family occasionally making fun of her to everyone treating her like garbage all the time. You cannot believe how much Meg's character got shit on in the modern episodes. Nobody in the show gives a crap about her, especially her family. They ignore her, hit her, emotionally abuse her, shoot her. They do whatever they want to her. Her family ignores Meg's health and safety, and she just takes it all in. And even when she rightfully snaps at them and tells them off, she ends up apologizing and takes back everything she said and allows her family to continue beating her down. The only reason this happened is because everything has to be reset at the end of an episode. I'll get more into this status quo later. And you may think Meg might be the most likable character in the show due to her taking in all this crap from everyone. But just like Squidward from SpongeBob, even her character can become unlikable, like in episodes like Crisscross, where she blackmails Chris. In the episode Friends Without Benefits, Meg has a crush on a guy who's gay, so she tries to persuade Chris into raping him and then tell her about the experience. Not only does this make no sense, it's wrong on so many levels, and guess what? It's not funny either. Okay, now it's time to move on to one of the worst anime characters I've ever seen. He's almost as unlikable as Patrick in the newer episodes of SpongeBob. That's how bad he's gotten. And that character is Brian Griffin. Oh boy, where do I even start? Well, here's a little interesting tidbit. When Brian is at his absolute worst, it can result in some of the worst episodes in the entire show's run. Play It Again, Brian. Brian Writes a Bestseller. Once Bitten. Brian the Closer. Herbie the Love Sore. Brian's a Bad Father. And of course, Not All Dogs Go to Heaven. My personal pet peeve. Oh, and that one other particular episode that I didn't mention, but I will get to. Anyways, the reason why Brian is so horrible is because he is willing to cause harm to others around him for little to no reason. One example? Well, here's a real good one. In Herbie the Love Sore, Brian cuts his hand and transfers his blood to both Stewie and Chris and gives them both herpes. Why do you do it? I have no idea. This is what Brian's character has become. He is clearly the worst character in the show, and this episode came from season 12 of all places. Now, I can understand why some people are defending season 7 of Family Guy. It did have some okay episodes, and some people would defend it, and even the bad episodes, like Not All Dogs Go to Heaven. I'm not sure why, but there are some people that like that there, and that's fine. If you like those episodes, there's nothing wrong with that. Everybody has an opinion, okay? But I've heard nothing good about this season at all. I haven't heard one of my friends on DA, on DeviantArt, or anywhere that likes this season. This is the point where Family Guy lost a lot of respect. Well, they didn't have a lot of respect beforehand because they had episodes like Screams of Silence. Yeah, that was terrible. But this was a new low for them. Yeah, even for Family Guy. Let's list the bad episodes here. I already mentioned Herbie the Love Sore, Brian's Bad Father, and Fresh Air, but there's more. This season had episodes like A Fistful of Meg, 3 Acts of God, Peter Problems, and episodes that's even more infamous than that season 7 episode I absolutely hate. Life of Brian. Hey, tons of people out there hate Brian to no end, so let's kill him off as gruesome as possible. Make fans out there feel sorry for him, replace him with a character that is similar to Brian, except he is nothing more than an Italian stereotype, and then take that character off and bring Brian back after 2 episodes. And the worst part is that Life with Brian could have actually worked if the writers weren't so focused on making this a ratings trap, so they could get people to be invested in Family Guy again. Here is what they could have done. Number 1. Kill off Brian in a reasonable way. Like, make his liver fail due to years of him drinking. They already did episodes like this before with, like, Peter in that kidney episode. They did stuff like this before, so why do it again? Instead, they just make him get hit by a random car. That shit is ridiculous. Number 2. Have flashbacks to all the best moments Brian had on the show. Like callbacks to older episodes and Brian's best moments. That would have been cool. Number 3. Have a good reason on why Stewie can't use a time machine to go back and save Brian. Like, for example, if he did this, it would cause a time paradox and fuck everyone over. So he has to let Brian go in order to keep the world intact. But instead, the writers have Stewie break the machine intentionally, and when he does die, he's not able to get the parts to fix it and go back in time to save him. At least not immediately. Again, that could have been better. Number 4. Develop Vinny's character throughout the season. Make him connect more to the family, and not just be another stereotype that they don't give two shits about. I knew he wasn't going to go past this season because it was voiced by Tony Serco, and he's like a very famous actor. I know he has like a contract or something. And I know he was originally going to appear for the show for like 6 episodes. But instead of appearing for 6 episodes, he only appears in 2. Again, just wasted potential. It's very clear the writers and whoever was behind it used cheap tactics to get people to watch the show. It was just a ratings trap, and the worst part is that people fell for it. Hell, I fell for it. I was wondering whether they're going to bring Brian back, and when he was brought back in Christmas Guy, I was glad at first because they have another chance to make Brian a better character. And then Happy the Love Story happened. And then Brian's a Bad Father happened. And then Brian the Closer happened. And then Once Bitten happened. You see, here is the Family Guy's writer's mindset. We can make Brian Griffin do whatever the fuck we want, and if you don't like it, we can kill him off again to make you feel sorry for him. That is what I think happened. What they did with the Life of Brian fiasco was so manipulative and wrong on their part, and it just made me hate Brian and the show itself even more. But oh, wait a minute. There's one character I forgot that might be redeemable. Stewie. You know SpongeBob and Family Guy share more in common than you think. Do you guys remember how Plankton was just an outright evil genius back in the day? And remember how Stewie was also an evil genius back in the earlier seasons that was hell-bent on killing Lois? Well, these two characters are more in common than you think, because these two characters are the most likable characters in both shows. They're outright better than everyone else. They didn't go through severe foreignization unlike every other character, and they didn't have their own bad episodes. Oh, I forgot. Stewie isn't sent to exist. Never mind. Forget it. So yeah, after season 12, a lot of longtime fans never came back. In fact, I'm surprised a lot of longtime fans didn't make it past season 7 or season 8 or 9 or 10. But this was definitely a new low. There are a lot of old fans that don't even bother with Family Guy anymore, and I can see why. And even with special episodes like The Simpsons Guy, people didn't feel like tuning into the show anymore. They watch The Simpsons Guy, and then they go back and say, oh shit, look, we got more of the regular Family Guy episode routine, so I'm not going to watch it anymore. And there was a point where I didn't want to come back to the show either. So here's the big question. Why am I still watching Family Guy today, and why am I giving it this much praise right now? Well, it turns out that around season 15, and especially season 16, the show improved a little bit. Are we getting great episodes? Not really, and not all of them are that good either. But most of these episodes actually seem competent, and maybe, just maybe, even worth watching. I mean, it's definitely better than the bullshit we got before with all the pointless gore and stuff. Season 15 wasn't that great, though. but it didn't have any really bad episodes. And it had some episodes that might be found to be creative and even funny in some way. Like the one episode inside Family Guy towards the end, when Peter Carnes gets hit with a bag of nickels. I know it seems juvenile and stupid, but it was funny. And hey, that's always better than pointless gore, right? I'd take a bag of nickels over that any day. And then, I watched the season 16 premiere. When that came on, that episode was decent for the most part. I couldn't really find anything wrong with it. From that point on, the show put out more episodes that I might be interested in watching. Their jokes were more meta instead of gross out, and they were even entertaining. And hey, remember Life of Brian and how horrible that was? They actually managed to make an episode similar to that, but they did it right. That episode is the D in Apartment 23, one of the best modern Family Guy episodes. One of the best episodes I've seen from this show for quite a while, in my opinion. You wanna know what this is about? This is about Brian making a racially offensive tweet, and this makes him and the family social pariahs. I know it may seem ridiculous, and on paper, it sounds very mean-spirited, but it doesn't feel that way. In fact, this episode made me feel sympathetic for Brian Griffin, and it didn't come off as contrived or artificial in any way. I loved it when Brian went all out on the mom, or at least tried to. And the ending was kind of shocking to me. It turns out this episode started a story arc, or mini story arc, where Brian is forced to move out of the Griffin household and into a crappy apartment for a while, therefore outing himself from the family. Again, it's amazing, after all the shit that he's done in past episodes, that I would feel a shred of empathy for this character, but I did. This was a bit of a step up for them. Let's see what they did right. I already pointed out the social commentary and most of the jokes being funny. There is more though. For starters, they made a change to the show's formula that wasn't as extreme as Life of Brian. Instead of killing him off with a car, they make him move somewhere else away from the family. It may not be a significant change, but it's a change nonetheless. And coming from a show like Family Guy, where they usually go and reset everything at the end of every single episode, this was quite surprising indeed. Nothing about the situation feels manipulative on the writer's part, and it opened up some new storylines for Brian, the family, and the show itself. The only thing I didn't like about this story arc is that, just like Life of Brian, it ended after 3 episodes. Yeah, I'm not sure why they did that. They could have easily, dragged this out until, the end of the season. Oh well. Whatever. Just go back to the status quo then. I still like the D in Apartment 23 regardless. That was a pretty good episode. Even the episodes that came after this arc weren't bad either. And it looked like Family Guy was on an upwards trend this season. Is it as good as Season 4, for example? No. Although this is probably the best we've seen from this show since 2008. It was that long ago. And I think another reason why this show is getting better recently is due to the new cast of writers and directors on board. Here's a list of writers and directors from Season 12, and here's the ones from Season 16. See a difference? Because I do. Anyways, I'm not going to go much further than that. I know I haven't talked about the 300th episode, but I might talk about it in a separate video if you guys want me to. So, at the end of the day, you gotta admit that Family Guy has shown some sense of improvement. Is it worth watching? Well, that's up to you. While these episodes are solid and the season itself looks good, the show itself is not the same. And despite all the praise, I don't want this show going for much longer, because for all we know, Family Guy could take another nosedive at some point and get just as bad, if not worse, than it was before. But I have a strange feeling this show is not ending anytime soon. I predict it's going to be renewed until Season 20 at least. It's a popular Fox show, so it's not going anywhere. So, I can tell this show might be sticking around until 2022. I wouldn't be surprised if that happened. But if you're still curious about Family Guy, go ahead and give it a try. Maybe you can find some of these to be entertaining. And maybe there's still something positive behind Family Guy. So, those are my thoughts on Family Guy. What are yours? Do you think Family Guy has gotten better? Feel free to leave a comment and tell me what you think. Like and subscribe for more videos like this. That's all for now, and I hope you guys have a good day.